Have you noticed how we've all stopped caring or even thinking about climate change at all? You notice how 5 years ago, beginning with like a massive awareness of the issue 10, 15-ish years ago, 5 years ago, we were still talking about it. Now it's totally off the agenda. No one talks about it anymore. You know how fucked we are. I made a video almost 5 years ago now refuting Kurzgesagt when they were saying 4 or 5 years ago, I don't remember how long it was. I was refuting Kurzgesagt when they were saying that we will fix climate change, blah, 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 like this triumphant thing where they were trying to say that progress is being made on climate change because like corporations are slightly lowering their carbon emissions and all this sort of really stupid shit. And they really downplayed the gravity of the situation. And in that video, I was like, it's actually really fucking bad. Shit's getting bad fast. No one's doing anything, regardless of how much they pretend to be doing something. No one's doing anything that is even slightly inadequate. All government policies on climate change are at most designed to make it look like they're doing something, when the reality is that they are doing so little that we will get the worst possible outcomes as a result of their policies. Since then, things have gotten so bad that it's totally off the agenda, like probably the most pressing issue in global politics. So this is like literally like a potentially existential problem facing humanity that has required, it does not just require, but has already required immediate and drastic action to avert massive global crisis that will potentially result in like the fundamental destruction of everything about the present world. And it was never treated anything like it should have been. And things have only gotten worse since I made that video to a massive degree. And by worse, I don't mean like the way that a lot of liberals who pretend to care about climate change frame things is like it's all Donald Trump's fault. Like, Donald Trump is so much worse than Joe Biden on climate change, blah, blah, blah. When the fact of the matter is, if every single country in the world had Joe Biden's climate policy, the exact same fucking shit would be happening practically. Because this is what I said. Governments have not seriously tried to tackle climate change. What they've tried to do is make it look like they're trying to tackle it, while fundamentally not wanting to step on the toes of like the corporations who would need to have their toes stepped on if it was to be tackled in any sort of effective way. So the result of this is that basically everyone has forgotten about it because it's too overwhelming to think about. Despite its totally overwhelming and overarching importance, it's totally off the agenda of pretty much everyone, no matter how well-meaning they are, no matter how much they actually cared about it before. Everyone's just tossed it to the side. It's like an existential threat that at this point, people have given up on dealing with at every level and from every ideology. In 2024, global average temperatures already passed the one of the points of no return of more than 1.5 degrees Celsius over pre-industrial levels. With a lot of pomp and ceremony, like every single UN member state came to like the Paris Climate Summit in 2016 and signed like this agreement, and it was like, woo, we're finally going to solve climate change, folks. And every country had like their own little goals that they had to meet to supposedly solve climate change. These goals were incredibly inadequate, but there was no enforcement, obviously. No one can force them into doing this, and they all just ignored it. But it gave the impression of the idea that they were doing something. The only countries that actually met their climate goals were like a few like third world countries that like sort of did it out of necessity because they're the countries that are going to be most affected by climate change. And even then, were an incredibly low bar that were not enough. And everyone agreed, yeah, we need to stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius. And if not that, 2 degrees Celsius. We've already fucked up on both of those. So everything's already locked in and everything's fucked. And Kurzgesagt, I'd like to see a follow-up on their video about how we're going to fix climate change, because I was blowing the whistle on this myself back then in 2021, and they were very angry at me for calling them out on that, and they responded to my video, and they were not happy at all with my criticisms of them. But ultimately, capitalism is not capable and is fundamentally opposed, in fact, to generating the sort of necessary global collective action that is required to tackle a problem like this. Like, this is the same sort of thing that I imagine would happen if humanity found out that we had like an asteroid on a collision course with Earth, and like it was going to hit in 10 years. And, technically, I'm sure we could do something and some sort of engineering feat in those 10 years to divert the course of this asteroid if we put everything into it, but we wouldn't do it. And then we'd get hit by the asteroid and we'd all die. That's what this is. It's the same thing. We can beat climate change. We know how to do it, but we're not going to because economic interests prevent us from doing so. Imperial interests prevent us from doing so. The comfort of the first world primarily prevents us from doing so because the comfort on the first world has been built on carbon debt, carbon emissions debt. The comfort of the first world has been built on hundreds of years of carbon emissions that other countries have not had the privilege of being able to do, and that now they can't do unless they also want to help destroy the world. So it just perpetuates the poverty of the third world as well. There's no winning here. We've all forgotten about it. We've all just left it out of the agenda, like the most important pressing issue facing all of us, and it's just gone. It's just tossed to the side. Myself included. I haven't been talking about it, have it? What is there to talk about? Is it happening? Yes. Is it going to fuck us over? Oh, fuck yes. If you thought fascism was bad now, just wait until people are fighting over water and there's refugees from countries that have been destroyed by climate change desperately trying to get into Europe and shit. Oh, it's going to get so much worse. But nothing new is happening. No one's doing anything about it. Everyone's just left it off the agenda because it's so grim that there's no chance that we can do anything about it at this point. So no one talks about it anymore because fundamentally nothing's going to change. And I think everyone knows that by this point. I want you to remember that the way that humanity's greatest humanists, the liberals, dealt with climate change was by instituting a carbon market where they let companies buy carbon emissions, which was literally about 1,000 times off being sufficient for the sort of reductions that were drastically needed in order to do anything. And then they just left that there and everyone just forgot about it. Because they're yeah, we did it. We did enough. We helped. When every single projection was telling them, actually, if you keep it up at this pace, we're fucked. And then they kept up at that pace and now we're fucked. Things are only going to get worse. All these weather events that you're seeing, they're only going to get worse. And I want to note as well, the reason why I was reminded of this and I wanted to talk about it is because there was a climate summit, the world's biggest climate summit called COP30, a milestone held in Brazil, in the Amazon. And everyone who was there blamed Trump. Everyone who was there blamed fucking Trump. Lula blamed Trump. Chile and Colombia blamed Trump. Everyone blamed Trump. And most of the world's biggest countries weren't even there this year, when previously they were, including China, by the way. The biggest country there was the fucking UK. But it's not Trump. We were on this course without Trump. We were on this course with the Biden climate policy, with the Obama climate policy. We're on this course with the European climate policy, the Chinese climate policy, the Russian climate policy. No one wanted to do what was drastically needed, which was international cooperation, setting everything aside to tackle this urgent issue. So remember, if you are lucky enough or unlucky enough to be a part of the future remnants of humanity that survive this, when they try to resurrect liberalism from the ancient texts of Milton Friedman, as if it's like a holy book, you tell them, I was there. And when it came time to cooperate for the good of all of humankind, the liberals did nothing because they wanted, they didn't want to challenge the faulty logics of the economic ideology that they uncritically believed in, like a cult. Number go up is good. That was what they believed. But when the number going up also caused the emissions to go up, they looked away. Don't believe their lies.